Welcome everyone to the Almost Cancelled TV News Podcast. I am Peter and I'm joined as always by Connor.
Yeah, I'm still here for some reason. What's going on?
But we should warn you right off the top here, there will probably be no episode of this next week. There'll be 1 week off. Then back the following week.
You got no other plans then?
Well, I suppose I could get a replacement or whatever, but in the likelihood that there is no replacement, I'll just warn them that there won't be an episode. And if there is one with a replacement, then surprise, you get an extra thing. But lately, there'll just be a week skipped, and then we'll be back the following week. But this is DVD News Podcast. We get together and we talk about renewals, cancellations, premiere dates, maybe some trailers, some new show orders, that kind of thing. So we'll dive into things. It's not a huge week. We're kind of cooling down for summer, which tends to be a quieter period for TV news. But there are some things here or there. So we'll start off with the renewals and cancellation. I think it's just all renewals this week. But we got a Black Lady sketch show has been renewed for season 4 by HBO. I haven't heard of it, but I mean the title's pretty self-explanatory. So
I would like to think so. Yeah.
So fair enough. That's getting season 4. Very good. Created, written, executive produced, and starring Robin Thede. So very good. And then we also have Our Flag Means Death renewed for HBO for a second season. Oh, sorry, for HBO Max, I should specify, for a second season. So
you should specify. They're very different things at this point still.
Yes. And so this is a comedy from creator showrunner David Jenkins and executive producer and star Tika Waititi. So yeah, very nice. So yeah, Rhys Darby's in it. This is like a pirate thing. I've heard some people talk about it, but
how have I not heard of this? That sounds like exactly like those two pirates comedy. Yeah, sign me up.
I don't know what to tell you. And the other renewal we have this week is Apple TV Plus have renewed Slow Horses for seasons 3 and 4. This is a Gary Oldman spy drama.
I did not know this existed. Did you? Be honest with me. Did you know it existed?
I did not know.
So I'm assuming it's already had 2 seasons, unless they're renewing it before the second season's even aired, which would be very ambitious.
The 6-episode first season of Slow Horses launched in April 1st. The second season is going to premiere later this year.
Okay, so all right, so it's only a couple of months old. All right, I don't feel so bad about missing it then.
Yes, and
I thought I'd missed like 2 whole seasons, and they were renewing it for 3 and 4, and it's Gary Oldman. And I was like, surely I'd have seen something, but sure, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you would assume that 1 and 2 get done together if they're going to have the second one ready the same year the first season came out.
Must have done. Probably because of his schedule, right?
Yeah. So
he's a busy man.
Indeed. But there you go. That's renewals. Which takes us on to the trailer we got this week. We have to talk a little bit about Gotham Knights because we got a 3-minute trailer.
Yeah, Gotham Knights, aka the best upcoming show of this season.
I'm not going to fall for your attempts to troll the situation. You know this looks like trash.
It looks like a CW show.
It looks like there's one of the most...
Looks like the quintessential CW show.
It looks like the most CW show that ever CW'd. Like, all of the actors have this, like, you feel too young and, like, not actory to play roles in a TV show.
Yeah.
They all have this, like, you're all just, like... You all look like you belong in a teen magazine, I don't know, showing off the latest teen fashion or something. That's what you all look like you should be doing. That's
probably where they were cast from.
And I don't believe for a second that Batman existed in this world, even though they keep talking about the Batman who's just died.
Had his head stomped in.
Apparently. And I rolled my eyes when one was like, oh, we need to see if you're the Joker's daughter. And I'm like, oh.
They said, "Is it true you're the Joker's daughter?" So it's like, I'm assuming it's more just it's just a rumor on the street to give you a reputation.
So that's a made-up character who's like the Batman's son in this, not Damien. So it's a new made-up character.
Harvey, which I thought was a weird choice if you're doing Batman stuff. If you're gonna make up a name for a kid.
He named him after Harvey Dent, or maybe he adopted him from Harvey Dent after he. I don't know.
But that's my point. Is you say that, my assumption immediately is, okay, so what's the connection with Harvey Dent? And also, if I recall, Joker's daughter as a character in the comics was Harvey's daughter.
I can't remember.
Actually, Two-Face's daughter, but went by Joker's daughter as a thing. Yeah, I'm sure that was a thing at one point.
Yeah. I don't actually think he's Harvey, by the way. The adopted son's name's Turner Hayes. I think he was calling the cop Harvey.
Oh, okay. I remember hearing Harvey a few times.
Or possibly lawyer. Maybe it is literally just lawyer Harvey Dent, which is weird because this might be a world where Batman's already happened. But, you know, whatever.
Yeah, you might be right. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, Turner Hayes is the character's name. They name him after Ted Turner as a homage to the one's man in charge. But yeah, we got a Harper Row, we got a Duella, and we got Cullen Row.
Duella, that's Joker's daughter, Duella Dent.
And I know that Stephanie Brown's in there somewhere. Maybe that was the blonde in the trailer. Who wasn't. I mean, she is technically a criminal's daughter, and that's actually true from the comics. She is a criminal's daughter, but she didn't really seem to fit the other characters that were all, in the being arrested at in the middle of the trailer. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And then
we got Carrie Kelly as well, though, which I thought was, from this trailer, seemed like the best actor in the show, or at least of the younger cast.
I mean, she seemed like an actual actor as opposed to just a CW model who's here to pretend to be an actor. From
the brief snippet we got of her towards the end of the trailer, she seemed like the most competent of the younger crowd.
It doesn't sound
by a significant margin.
It doesn't sound like Robin was a thing, because the way she says he called me her little Robin when she says she was working with Batman makes me think that Robin as like a mantle hasn't existed.
No, definitely not.
So, yes. But this is mostly like CW teen drama. It's just right at the very end, he's like, well, we have to try and like clear our names because they think we killed Batman and we have a bat cave. And then it's just like him picking up it's not even a batarang, it's like a throwing starling thing.
Yeah, I think technically it falls under the broad spectrum of what a batarang is.
It's in the batarang family, but I wouldn't necessarily call this specific thing a batarang.
If it's shaped like a bat and you throw it.
Wasn't it shaped like a bat though?
Kind of is. But it was shaped like the Tim Burton, oval bat like symbol, like that the big oval wings.
I don't care enough to go back and check, but I definitely did consider it looking like a bat. But whatever. Regardless, I cannot be less interested in the show.
Yet you will still watch the first episode.
Only if the patrons vote for it, and they might not.
Which they will. They will.
You don't know what else is going to be out that month. This can still come in like fourth.
Everything's going to be out that month because. No, because CW. Oh, is it mid-season?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, even if it wasn't, CW start later than all the other networks, don't they? Typically, they start in October as opposed to September.
It might still be a busy month, though. You don't know. Cables and streamings don't adhere to any system.
That is true, but I have faith that our patrons have more interest in making you suffer than actually making you watch a potentially good show. Yeah, that's what I thought. Sorry. What was that they just made you review this last week?
I had to watch the Obi-Wan first episode, didn't I?
Yeah, yes, you did. And why was that?
Because the patrons voted for it.
Because the patrons like making you suffer.
That was a terrible review, though, so I think they may have learned a lesson. I said nothing of value in that.
You say that, but they got value out of knowing that you suffered.
I get I said nothing good in that review.
It's not about what you say in the review. It's about knowing that you actually had to watch it. That's what they care about.
But what if I just turn the camera on and go, I watched the thing, and then just stare at the camera for 10 minutes and then turn it off? Like,
they'll be like, money well spent.
Oh, well, they.
I think they might be, yeah.
Next up, Gugu Mbatha Raw's Apple TV Plus show. It's a psychological thriller called Surface. It has got a release date. It will be debuting with its first 3 episodes on Friday, the 29th of July, and then there'll be weekly after that. No trailer yet, but they have released an image of it. But I assume there'll be a trailer before it debuts.
I'd have thought so. She's a very good actress, so.
Yeah. Set in San Francisco and follows Sophie, a woman who recently suffered a traumatic head injury that has left her with extreme memory loss, believed to be the result of a suicide attempt. As Sophie embarks on a quest to put the pieces of her life back together with the help of her husband and friends, she begins to question whether or not the truth she is told is in fact the truth that she lived.
Okay, that's a very typical premise, right? The are they actually telling me the truth because your memory's lost? You've definitely seen that multiple times before, but maybe it's still good. Yeah,
it just depends on the angle on it. There's lots of ways you could pursue that, I think. But like you say, a good actress, so at the very least the performance should be good. I suppose I'll mention that we have a launch window for a Star Wars show.
Yes, we do.
Bad Batch Season 2 is coming in fall 2022. So
there was a trailer for it as well.
I don't care.
I didn't insist you watch it because it is a Season 2 trailer. I feel like I'm not going to push my luck. I'm going to wait until when we get Ahsoka trailers and the other trailers. You'll have to watch those, but for now, I won't push it with Season 2s.
They're making a Ahsoka Shack show?
Yes.
I don't know what plot you're going to get out of making drinks, but okay.
There are many a thing you could do about that. That's just the premise of your sitcom.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's your workplace, making the drinks. It's got a bar.
Very good.
Yes. Trailer looked good though for this. Maybe a little Wookiee Jedi returning from Clone Wars. That excited to see more of him.
Moving on, probably worth mentioning here. Stranger Things season 4, volume 1, broke Netflix's weekend opening debut records. So, maybe their spending per episode is somewhat justified, and it's the one thing they have that seems to still get a sizable response and reaction and traction, because they obviously have been kind of sliding in terms of their stock value, and subscribers haven't been growing like they used to be. Although at a certain point I'm like, everyone has it. Like surely there's a ceiling at which point.
Of course there is, yeah.
They don't see it that way though. They think they should keep growing forever. People are born every minute.
It's a real problem in capitalism.
Yes. So yeah, so any worries of them not devoting the same efforts into season 5, I think, go away when you see the success and buzz of Stranger Things. And would you believe it? People will still be talking about it in a month's time because it's not all been released at once. Go weekly, you bastards! It'll be even better.
Maybe they'll learn. Do you know what else was a huge success for its respective service?
Ready, Steady, Cook.
I mean, probably, but also the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show was the highest audience numbers for any Disney Plus show so far. Not just the Star Wars ones, but for any Disney Plus show.
So Star Wars fans are a bunch of marks, and they all watched it.
Basically, yeah. But it was telling to me that was more than any of the Marvel shows that seem to be watched by everyone in the world.
Yes. So the metric Netflix have put out here is 286.79 million hours viewed in its first weekend. But if that's what they're always measuring by, then fair enough.
I don't feel like it is what they're always measuring by.
Well, it mentions that the runner-up, what it beat, is Bridgerton season 2 of all things, which was 193 million hours in its opening weekend.
Okay, this is such a weird metric because it's not comparable against any other service. It means nothing to anything except against other Netflix shows, because no one else is releasing all their episodes at the same time.
Well, how about this? It was number 1 in 83 countries for the weekend, which is not surprising. But
That's still a Netflix only metric. Like, what I'm saying is, yes, it's clearly very good on Netflix for Netflix compared to their other things. But that doesn't tell me how it compares against, let's say, the Obi-Wan Kenobi show because it launched on the same day. Of course, they can go, oh well, we had more minutes watched than Obi-Wan Kenobi because they launched with 7 episodes as opposed to 2, right? So it's such a strange metric to.
But there's
to measure,
also
like,
a gaping chasm in quality between the two, so we have to consider that as well.
I can't confirm that though.
Obi-Wan was shit. Just putting it out there.
It was not.
It was absolute
But,
shit. It was
Well, I
boring.
wasn't. You were bored does not make it shit. There's the difference. But my point here is, if you give us the amount of people who viewed the episodes, that's something you can compare across. Whereas, this amount of minutes was watched doesn't actually help that much, except against other Netflix shows. So I don't know. It's a sketchy one for me, that.
Hold on, let me go have a look at this other article here from Deadline. Stranger Things season 4 premiere episode pulled in 2.9 million US households over the 4-day holiday weekend.
Okay.
While 2.14 million households watched the first episode of Obi-Wan, so it beat Obi-Wan.
No, that's fine. I'm not saying it didn't. I honestly, I would have been surprised if it didn't. Stranger Things is probably Netflix's last big name, right?
I don't know how reputable Samba TV is, admittedly, who this is where the reports that come from, but I mean,
that's fair.
Yeah,
but that's a more valuable metric to me than just minutes watched, because at least I can compare that against other things.
So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, Stranger Things really does feel like the last big thing that Netflix have in the chamber, and they've only got one more season left, and they're most definitely going to do like spin-offs.
Yeah, I saw an article. I know this is slightly more movie related, I guess, but while we're on Netflix.
Oh yeah, this is the we're not doing the vanity projects anymore thing.
Yeah, and it's like, yes, I'm not surprised. You're bleeding money and have been for years. This is probably why, because you just threw money at everything.
It's a weird 50-50 thing for me, because on the one hand, yes, you're just throwing like obscene amounts of money at projects to get creators who wouldn't be interested in a streaming platform interested, like Scorsese, like David Lynch, like whoever. And obviously that's not going to like be a sustainable like money project. It just isn't. On the
bad business model.
Yeah.
But also you get good content from it.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you're kind of also saying we're not going to have all these great creators who might make something interesting, and instead we're going to do more safe things that will just make everything. That's it. They were also saying that they're going to do fewer things, but they're going to make the fewer things bigger and more important, which could be fine. It just depends. Like
depends what the thing is, right? There was a point in Netflix's history where every week they had a show out that, while maybe didn't appeal to us, it was like, okay, you could see there was some effort put into it and it would definitely appeal to someone. Whereas it feels like maybe they're shifting directions to be, let's, instead of hitting every individual niche, let's just go for general broad appeal, hit, mass middle audience, and just go, that'll do, and that'll rake in enough money to get by.
Well, Bridgerton's really big for them, so I still think they'll do specific audiences, but just not as many. I think they'll keep doing things that appeal to the same crowd they'll like a Stranger Things. So they'll keep having something genre-y that's big, and they'll keep having something that appeals to the Shonda TV shows like Bridgerton. They'll keep getting pumped out, but I feel like you're going to see a lot less of smaller other things creeping on there. But I mean, we'll see. I think the Duffer Brothers are moving on after season 5. That's at least I think they've got like another project with Spielberg or something that they've got lined up for after they're when they're done. I suspect that there'll probably be spin-offs, whether that's like some of the same characters, maybe older or something, or just like, oh no, it's in the Stranger Things universe, but we're just doing something over here that's a whole new set of characters, whatever it may be. I suspect that'll happen. It may be good, may be terrible. It won't really matter though in the grand scheme of things, because as long as the original show is done, you can just ignore the rest of it. It doesn't really matter. But I do expect Netflix to try and milk it, because it's one of the most bankable things they have right now.
Yeah, by a considerable margin. They're trying to turn Witcher into that. Between like multiple seasons, multiple shows, animated shows, movies. Like they're determined for Witcher to be a big franchise for them.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, that model does not work for me. It's part of why I am, I'm at a point now with Marvel where, like, in Marvel and Star Wars, I think you just kind of throw it together, and when I'm talking about those two things, I'm kind of throwing them together because I feel kind of, obviously Marvel did appeal to me more before, but I'm at a point now where they're kind of the same, where it's just a constant churning out of things. We need more things that say Marvel, we need more things that say Star Wars on it.
Mm-hmm.
The odd good thing might slip out, but for the most part, it just kind of feels like lots of content coming off the assembly line. So not super a big fan of that. Which is my main thing when I was watching that first Obi-Wan episode. I'm like, I'm sure some people will be excited about some of this shit, but ultimately all I feel is you wanted to do another Star Wars thing. You said, okay, we'll follow Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan in between the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, or after the prequel trilogy and before the original trilogy. And well, someone come up with an idea then. Come up with what the plot's going to be.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that, for the record, I actually think the second episode is a lot more original in what it's doing. It actually is like, okay, I understand what the story is now, as opposed to the first episode, which was just like this tone piece, almost introduction.
It's a little John Wicky Jedi style. It's coming out of retirement kind of thing.
Yeah, I really like the second episode a lot because and not because it's doing fan wankery things. It actually has substance in the second episode, I found.
Sure, there was definitely some fan wankery things in the first episode, though.
Oh, I'm not saying there's none in the second episode. There's at least one thing that definitely was there just to get a pop from people.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not mad that you remind me all the younglings get it at the start, but that scene to me felt so unnecessary, and the only reason why I mean, obviously it kind of transitions because the character who's like running around afterwards is presumably one of those kids who survived, but
there's two characters in there that I think are part of the show. There's the kid you're talking about, and then there's the Inquisitor. I'm pretty sure she's one of them as well.
The only reason why I think that scene's there, because you don't really need it, right, for the story to make sense, is like, a scene set during all this like Order 66 shit happening. It's just there because, like, oh, well, there's not a lot of action this first time. We need someone with a lightsaber doing lightsabery stuff. So let's do a big lightsaber moment at the start with this. And that's the only reason why it's there.
And I don't think there's any lightsaber action in the second episode. There is an action sequence, but it's just like, hand to hand. It does feel a bit John Wicky. I will say not as well directed as John Wick, but in its defense, there's a lot of action stuff out there that's not as good as John Wick. But
it's as bad as Matrix 4.
I haven't seen it, so I can't compare. Sorry.
Well, the reason why
it's not bad. It's just not standout.
The reason why I bring that up is because obviously Matrix, and even the sequels to an extent, but certainly the first Matrix is known for being one of the best action movies ever. The action sequences are spectacular, and Matrix Resurrections is like, what's this crap, like network TV choppy action sequence?
Oh yeah, it's not like choppy. It's not bad, and you can tell it's going for that John Wick style of action direction. It's just not quite good enough to be at that level, but it's fine. But what I was going to, my point was, it's so bizarre to me. There's a book that came out in like 2012, 2013, a little bit before the Disney buyout, just called Kenobi, and it's set kind of in this sort of rough time period of Obi-Wan on Tatooine doing his thing, and it plays it just as basically as a Western, with Kenobi, kind of being the the mysterious stranger essentially in town. And I'm like, you had a perfectly reasonable like book that you could just like, hey, we have this, all the rest of it, we can kind of essentially reuse that as an idea, as a starting point of your show, and is a perfectly fine idea for what you would do with a Kenobi show, I think, in that idea. And I don't know, it was weird choice to me, just to what because what the show actually is, I did not realize it was going to be that going in. I would never have predicted this is what it was.
What's so funny about it to me, watching that first episode, is that it just felt like one of the Marvel Disney Plus shows. So I kind of felt like I knew what I was getting just with a Star Wars coat of paint. Like, I had the same pacing and tone as one of them. And
that's fair.
The same feeling I get from them, which is like, oh, this is, fine enough, but like, I don't really care about anything that's going on. It feels very inessential.
Again, I think I mentioned this when I talk about how I enjoyed Hawkeye, but because I don't watch most of them, I don't have that fatigue. That
Oh, you've watched all the Star Wars ones.
I have, but from the Marvel ones, I don't have that like. And you say I've watched all the Star Wars ones. There's only been 3 seasons over what 2 and a bit years, and shorter seasons as well. There's not actually been there's been nowhere near as many of those.
Yeah, for all the stuff getting thrown around, TV seasons having bloated episodes, and maybe there's an argument in there. I will say that the Disney Plus shows, by and large,
a bit too short.
They've left me feeling like not full. And
yeah, I don't know how long the third episode of Kenobi is. I've not watched that one yet, but the first 2 were normal TV length, not normal Disney Plus TV length, right? They were like 40 to 50 minutes. They were fine, perfectly right. The appropriate length for what you would expect of a TV episode.
Yeah, even just having 6 episodes though is a bit on the light side. Which is fine if your story fits in that, but I've not felt that they have. I've felt like most of the Disney Plus stuff I've watched has felt stretched to fit 6 episodes.
A lot of things have felt like that. Yeah, like I was. I mean, I don't know if you've realized this, but I was very critical of Boba Fett, as a show, being like I think that was 7 episodes, and like the first 3 episodes or so are, I think, really good. I'm really into them, and then it switches gears and just becomes Mandalorian season 2.5, and kind of forgets all its plots and interesting things that made it its own show. And while I'm like, as a Star Wars fan, like, okay, these are objectively fine scenes. I enjoy the scenes it is showing me as a Star Wars fan. As part of this Boba Fett show, I really didn't enjoy them, and so I definitely have had problems with them. But I don't know. They've been so. I think the Mandalorian seasons were quite good in terms of their pacings. I mean, maybe you disagree, but I mean, you only saw the first one, so maybe I don't know.
Well, I didn't want to come back for the second, so I mean, I suppose that gives you some of what you need to know.
It does, but also you were kind of checked out for a long. You were never really excited about that.
No, I wasn't. No. And yeah, some apathy towards Star Wars does play a bit of a part in this, but Marvel, in theory, is something that I should have cared about, but they've made me apathetic towards most of that as well. Through them just churning out more content and it feeling like just more content. As much as, because there was a certain point as well where in the movies as well, specifically, where clearly the idea of like having decent CG just like took a back seat in general, and there's a point where you could sort of feel what they're farming these movies out too quick, and for the most part the CG is plug and play and it's kind of mediocre, and it's like you're making movies that are like hitting $1 billion on a regular basis.
Correct if I'm wrong, I remember reading something a little while back that on a lot of the Marvel movies, they start the CG.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're going to say.
All the directors are even like attached and working on it.
Well, this is one of the big things that I went into with Black Widow, is that you can feel the disconnect of the parts of the movie that were already decided on because they had to start doing the effects on a lot of scenes, and then the parts that the director got to actually direct, because you can tell parts of that movie that the director had like a vision and a statement and wanted to actually say something about a subject and actually wanted to make a film, and then every time an action scene starts, it's like, oh, that's out the window, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, because in an action movie, the action should propel the plot and should like say something or add to the themes of what the characters are going through, and it makes sense narratively whenever the action scene happens. The last thing you want in a good action movie is for it to feel like the plot just stops so you can have an action scene and it doesn't, the two parts don't fit together.
Yeah, I agree. But what I was kind of going to get to is some of the more recent ones that you've seen with the less than great CG.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that those are maybe they're starting that CG a little bit later, once directors are actually attached and they kind of know what the movie's going to be from the director's vision, and maybe it makes a slightly better film, even with the inferior CG?
I mean, I don't think so, just because like it's still like I'm not getting that it still has that assembling kind of feel to a lot of how the movie's produced. Now, some of them are still better than others. Like Spider-Man was a more entertaining movie. Admittedly, there was some cheap pops, I suppose. Some easy victories in terms of what they were doing with the multiverse storyline, but I don't know. It's just this is kind of part of the problem with just churning out content to be to have lots and lots of more stuff on the same IP, right? And Stranger Things, well, Netflix are relying on it like it is one of those things, and it's no doubt is going to become one of those things. Watching that show, it still kind of feels like, no, these guys had this idea for what this show was, and at least for this 5-season show, it's going to feel like its own special thing. And then whatever Netflix decide to do after that is probably going to start to feel like franchise nonsense.
So what you're saying, it's still in the phase 1 of the MCU stage, where maybe not all the movies were great, maybe not every season or every episode of Stranger Things is great, but they all clearly had a vision, right? That someone was looking at them going, okay, I know what I'm doing.
That's not a perfect comparison, but I would compare it more to, this is the original, like this 5 seasons of Stranger Things is the original Star Wars trilogy. And then whatever they do after that will be them trying to turn it into more because they want more. So you get prequels and you get...
The sad thing is as well for Netflix, it's not even a case if they want more, it's kind of they need more, because otherwise they're kind of screwed.
They need something. So it is kind of interesting, and it's actually kind of weird because we're at this point where we're so used to the way pop culture works now, and we're used to the way things turn into franchises. It's really weird watching it, loving what it's doing now, and knowing that I'm going to love, probably, unless they like shit the bed at the ending, but I don't think they will, right? I'm going to love this 5 seasons, but I know that after this, there's a really good chance that it's going to turn into just content because they want to keep making more of it. But for right now, and it's kind of this, in a weird way, I've made my peace with it, and I'm not going to be that angry about it when it happens, because I'm like, well, you know what? The original thing will finish, it'll be done, and much like Star Wars, I'll just ignore the rest of it and just, like, I don't care. It's fine. Yep. Life moves on. But it's hard not to feel jaded when you just, like, you get flooded so much, and they keep announcing more and more things, and obviously Paramount Plus are trying to do it with Star Trek. Although the one comparison I'll make in the favor of the Star Trek shows, right? Because the writing quality has not been good, by and large, on these modern Trek shows. Not counting the animated shows, because I've not really delved into them beyond the pilot for those. But I would say that they have never looked cheap, right? No. They have kept up the effects. I mean, Picard season 2 was kind of mostly set present day, so maybe it felt like they were saving money by doing that because it didn't have as much effects work to do. But it certainly, wasn't shown its hand. It's
definitely been something since the start of this period of Trek. Like, we had lots of complaints about that opening double episode of Discovery, but it looked visually spectacular.
Yeah, and Strange New Worlds so far has been the best written show of the bunch by far, 4 episodes in, and it still looks fantastic. And if anything, it looks better because it's not overdoing it with Dutch angles and lens flares quite as...
Does it have colour?
There's a lot of colours. It's got the blue, the yellow, the red.
Because I know like the poster kind of has a lot of like that yellow and blue, and like vibrant colours as opposed to.
It's a very vibrant show, as opposed to like Discovery, which is a bit darker. And, so
it's just so funny when you see in some of these we've seen Marvel kind of build up their universe over time. Like it was at the start a fairly organic process, right? Yeah. And it kind of turned into this juggernaut, and it got people in like that. And we've seen basically every other company under the sun try and rush to compete with that. And like, okay, we need, we want to do that too. You saw DC do it with, Man of Steel. You saw them do it with your Dark Monsters universe, whatever that one was. The
well, I don't know if you say you saw them do it with the Dark Universe.
They tried. Yeah, they tried.
They announced they were going to do it, and then it completely fumbled at the very, very, very first hurdle.
Yeah. Was that the one where they tried to retroactively make the Dracula movie, Dracula Untold, part of it?
I think they said they were trying to, but it was, I don't know if it was ever like outright, like that was definitely happening, or if it was like, we might do this, and then when it all failed, it didn't matter, and it was like, let's just move on.
Yeah. But you've seen a lot in that. It's so funny to see Netflix doing it with themselves, where they've got like Stranger Things, and you can see it coming to an end, and they're like, shit, we need more. Witcher, throw 6 Witcher projects at them. And it's like And like HBO are doing it with Game of Thrones, where like it came to an end, and they're like, "Quick shit, find 4 or 5 spin-offs. What can we do?"
Yeah, instead of looking for the next big thing, they just try and keep doing the same big thing again.
Yeah.
What it's exhausting. Even when you like the thing that it started with, because I'll say this, like this is maybe a weird thing, and maybe there's just a purer feel to it. But I will take a carbon copy sequel that you used to get in the 80s of a movie that was just kind of rehashing it. But at least you get 1 or 2 sequels. They weren't as good as the original, but they were kind of fun, going back to those characters or worlds, and that was it. I'll take that. I'll take Die Hard 2 over, oh, we have to do a spin-off show that lasts another 6 years.
I think there's a big difference, like I said, between it's a 90-minute movie every couple of years, as opposed to if it's a TV show, is at least a 6-hour season probably.
Which, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, there's always exceptions. Better Call Saul is like one of the best things ever. So, like, there's always exceptions. But you do, and I'm sure AMC were pushing for it. Don't get me wrong. But it does feel when you watch it like, even if it didn't come from an idea of, oh, we've got all these ideas to do with, Saul Goodman as a character. It does feel like, at least when he was approached, like, hey, could you do a spin-off? Vince Gilligan and co sat down, they thought about it and said, you know what, there's some interesting things we could do with this character. And they built a story and a world, or the rest, or they filled out the world.
As opposed to when AMC spoke to whoever's in charge of Walking Dead now.
Yeah, come up with a title and just think of the show later.
I don't think they went think of it. They went, here's your title, give us a show.
That's what some of these things feel like, though. Like, I especially felt with Obi-Wan in the sense that, like, people want a Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan movie or show, right? People have been wanting that for years. So they're like, okay,
it's easy, yeah.
We're going to announce it, and they show a logo saying Obi-Wan, and then they turn around and go, all right, hire someone to come up with what it's actually going to be.
That's fair.
You have this. You have it in games as well. You have it in movies. You have it in TV,
and that is, and comics, right? That is very much the art of creating work for hire. The reality is some people are better than others.
There is a middle ground where, there's a middle ground where you can let some of the ideas formulate a little bit and then kind of, put out to a team that you want pitches for a certain property and maybe find one that actually sounds like it's got some meat to it in weight and there's a story to tell. Rather than just having content exist for content's sake. And because everywhere is trying to, like, farm all of their IP, because this is what the war's turned into. It's turned into, Universal do it with Fast and the Furious. There's a reason why there's 10 of those bloody things now, because they don't have a lot of other IP. There's a reason why Jurassic Park came back for them, because that's what Universal had. They had Jurassic Park. They turned Fast and Furious somehow into this juggernaut franchise as well.
I still don't understand how that happened, I'll be honest with you.
Nor do I, but that's what they've done.
I respect that more than I do some of these other attempts, because that was organic. I'll give them that. Paramount,
they got Mission Impossible, they got Star Trek, but they found themselves a little bit, because let's face it, Disney bought up a lot of things. Warner Brothers have a lot of things. A lot of the others have kind of had to, like, oh shit, what have we got? And they're mining what they have. And
well, it's all good because we got a new Indiana Jones movie coming next year.
That's also, well, that's Lucasfilm, but is Paramount still involved in that? I'm not sure if they still have to be involved in that or not. But
I don't think so.
That'll be weird though, because it always starts with the Paramount logo, morphing into like a mountain or like a.
Yeah, I think it's going to be just a Disney logo now, right? I mean, assuming they put a Disney logo.
They may just have a Lucasfilm, but how do you transition Lucasfilm into something in the scene? It's literally just text saying Lucasfilm. There's not a logo.
That's up to them to, smarter, better men to figure out.
Imagining the Lucasfilm logo in my head, the only thing I can think of is that it faced like the grill of a truck.
It's got the guy, at the side of the Lucasfilm logo, though, doesn't it? There's the little guy in gold.
Is there?
I'm sure there is. I'll have to look up the Lucasfilm logo now, real quick. Cause I'm sure there's a guy.
What did they do? Transition to someone holding an Oscar? Like,
oh, it's only like one version of it. Even that is. Yeah.
Oh well.
No, that's an older version of the logo, so they can't even use that.
Which is why, like, say what you want about the Avatar sequels, at least, that's one artist's insane, like, voyage that he wants to go on. That's, and don't get me wrong, they're going to give him the money for it because Avatar made so much money, but that's James Cameron wanting to make those things, as opposed to someone saying, hey, we need more Avatar, Jim. If anything, people are saying, kill it on the Avatar and do some other things as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely saying that. I'm going, who's asking for this much Avatar? No one in the world is asking for this much Avatar.
But Jimbo is, and that I can respect that in a way that I cannot respect. Here's 5 more Star Wars shows, and here's 8 more Marvel shows in the movies.
But I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna watch the Star Wars shows. I'm not gonna watch the Avatar films.
You'll see them eventually.
I really don't think I will.
Well, that's your loss then, because the king has come home. James Cameron is returning to cinema, and it's going to be delightful. So I mentioned Joe. I just realized that yesterday that Jurassic World 3's out like next week. Like, it's that soon.
Yeah. That snuck up on you, didn't it?
It really did sneak up, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to do that in Ace soon, I guess, then, since it's coming out. So weird. But yes. Oh, that was a bit of a tangent.
TV news, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not a lot of news, so I'm actually like, I'll let that go because there's not a lot going on. So, Fatal Attraction. There's a TV show coming to Paramount Plus. Speaking of farming your IP, at least this one's not overdone yet. I'll give it that.
Give them a few years.
Amanda Peet has joined the cast of Fatal Attraction. She joins Lizzie Kaplan and Joshua Jackson, which is an interesting pair of names. I like both of those names.
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. Obviously, it's the movie with Michael Douglas and Glenn Close was the big 80s hit. So they're doing a new version on Paramount Plus. So fair enough. Yeah. Amanda Peet, I remember her. I think she was in Whole 9 Yards. I want to say that's what I know her from. Maybe a couple other things. But of course, Joshua Jackson you'll know from Fringe or The Mighty Ducks or Dawson's Creek or Urban Legend. I'm surprisingly quite on the up with Joshua Jackson's filmography.
How?
Because I've seen all those things. I've seen all those things. I care about some of them, in fact. Not all.
Very strange man.
Not all of them, obviously. But there you go. Next up, some cash shuffling going on here. So Leslie Mann and Tim Robbins have pulled out of Amazon's global thriller drama series, The Power. They're going to be recast. It's a 10-episode show based on a feminist sci-fi book. So this is just a show that's been plagued with stuff, because Rainn Wilson was cast at one point and left.
I believe at least he left due to delay, because this was
it was heavily. Well, let me finish the story, right? So it's heavily delayed, and that seems to be what's led to everyone, because they're going to have to like reshoot like what they've shot already with new actors, because it's been pushed back constantly. So because Tim Robbins was cast as a replacement in January 2021, and now
I'm not sure this show's actually real. I think it's just a money laundering scam somehow.
I mean, why? Bezos is like he's like the filthiest rich that there is.
Yeah, but he lost a lot of money in the divorce.
Good for her, I suppose.
So I'm assuming this is his scam that he's pulling now, just to get some more.
How is he making money out of this though, exactly?
I don't know. He's got the details figured out, I'm sure.
I'm not sure how them constantly reshooting this show is like making the money, but
it's paying off Friends somehow.
Oh, okay. Next up, so Magnum PI, the new version, got cancelled at CBS. However, there's a twist.
How is there a twist? Oh, don't tell me someone picked it up.
NBC and USA Network might be saving it.
Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah. So, it's rare that a show gets to come back, gets saved from the brink of cancellation. So An arrangement has still been figured out, but Deadline are hearing that one for new episodes to air on NBC, whilst USA would run the previous seasons of the action show, is in the works. So, do you know what? I can see like a modern version of Magnum PI on USA Network.
I can as well, but it's going to be NBC first, right? So
Yes,
so can you see it on NBC?
I can.
I think you can, but it's a different show, isn't it?
It's a little bit there. I mean, I don't know if it'll even change that much, to be honest. I mean, they've already...
Probably not. They're probably saving it for a reason.
Let's face it, over time, like, most of the networks, like CW are doing kind of their own thing, or sort of their own terrible thing. The rest of them have all sort of gravitated towards what CBS were doing. They all have all their cop shows, the medical dramas, their lawyer shows. They're all doing all these things now.
Yeah.
The days of interest in network shows is mostly gone. So there you have it.
CW, the last bastion of individuality on network TV. That was the takeaway I got from that there.
That's one way of looking at it. So we got one comedy that's been ordered. FX has greenlit a comedy pilot for English Teacher, which comes from executive producers Brian Jordan Alvarez and Paul Sims. And the first guy there worked on Will and Grace and Jane the Virgin. Second guy worked on What We Do in the Shadows in Atlanta. So some notable shows behind them. English Teacher is a comedy about a gay high school English teacher named Evan and his fellow teachers in Austin as they try to balance the competing demands of the students and their parents in a world where the rules seem to change every day. That's personal and professional. Come on. Their students and their parents.
The students is personal. No, students is professional. Yeah. The parents is personal.
Yeah. You can't argue that. I think that's pretty clear cut.
As soon as you said they're trying to balance, I was like, yeah, I know where this is going. I was already resigned to it.
Oh dear. I feel like every time personal and professional comes up, we should have like a little Thanos that pops up on the screen. You know, perfectly balanced as things should be. So out of the dramas. So The Fields, which is a book, a crime thriller by Erin Young, is in the works for TV. Bruna Papandreou's Made Up Stories, who worked on Big Little Lies and Endeavour Content, are working on this. So yeah, and the name is a pseudonym. It's not a real name, which isn't important, but it mentions it, so I thought I'd point it out. So the description for the book: The Field starts with a body, a young woman found dead in an Iowa cornfield on one of the few family farms still managing to compete with the giants of big agriculture. When Sergeant Riley Fisher, newly promoted to head of investigation for the Black Hawk County Sheriff's Office, arrives on the scene, an already horrific crime becomes personal when she discovers the victim was a childhood friend connected to a dark past she thought she'd left behind. That's two. The investigation grows complicated as more victims are found. Drawn deeper in, Riley soon discovers implications far beyond her Midwest town. So, for anyone keeping score at home, that's personal and professional in there, and other wording, and also a dark secret from the character's past is emerging.
Where was this?
It doesn't have a network yet. It's not one that's got one attached.
Yeah, it's even worse. I can blame someone.
This is the production company's making it, and presumably they're going to go and...
Who's the production company?
Bruna Papandreou, Endeavour Content.
Well, screw them all.
One of these. Which takes us on to our final news story. I love that we only had 3 new shows at the end.
I've still got at least 3 drinks.
Yes. We'll see if this last one can deliver. It is Fox, so... You know.
50-50 then, yeah.
You got a chance. So Fox is developing Felonious Monk.
Okay, I'm in.
It's an interesting title. I'll give it that. Yeah, one of our drama based on William Cotswinkle's novel, from writer Michael Brandon Guercio, who worked on Treadstone, which was the Bourne spin-off. Which was that USA Network? Sounds like it was USA
I
Network.
remember that.
Yeah.
Was that the name of the organization in Bourne?
Yeah, it was the program, I think, that created all the...
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, Felonious Monk, based on a novel, is about a disgraced cop with anger issues turned monk who returns to his hometown to take care of his dead uncle's outstanding business debts and suspects foul play. Now, he's forced to abandon his serene monastery life in order to solve his uncle's murder and other homicide cases. I love that. There's going to be another crime every week, just in case you were worried.
Yeah.
But yes, do you know what I love? I love that you get a fourth drink, but you got the one that we hadn't hit yet. Because there's 3 rules that we currently have.
I'm borderline questioning if that's 2 in there as well. Do the one that you know, and then I'll
well, the one that we know here is him returning to his hometown. Now, it doesn't always have to be hometown per se. It could be returning to their familyhood home. But, you understand the spirit of it.
Back to their roots.
Yeah, back to their roots in some way. Yeah. What was the other one you thought you saw?
Well, the uncle's case is personal.
Oh, okay.
And then other, does that count as personal professional? Is that stretching it a bit?
I think that's a bit of a stretch.
All right.
I mean, there's nothing to say you can't just have another drink if you want one, if that's what you're itching for.
No. If I'll do that, I'll just pick something nicer. I use the cheaper stuff for this because I don't want to go through the good stuff.
Of course.
If I'm itching for another drink, I'll pour something better.
Yes. And
This
you often do.
This is like a £12 bottle. Oh no, actually, that's for about a £17 bottle, but still cheap.
Yes, it's a bad guy, or it's a cop who became a monk who then comes back out to become maybe not an active cop again, but certainly a private detective for his own case.
I hope he's still like a monk the whole time. He's like, God damn it, I just want to do matins.
I mean, it says he does other cases though, which means he must be at least become like an active PI that people go to, if not something else. Because
I want him to fit in. He has to fit the case in around monastic life. I want him up at midnight to say his matins. You know, go off, do his prayers at midnight, get up, do that, and be like, right, while I'm up, I guess I'll do some investigating.
Do you know what? We only had 3 new shows, but somehow they all delivered on making you drink. That was quite.
And one was a double.
And one was a double. Yes. So
can't help themselves, can they?
I don't think we get much this week, but there it goes. And luckily, that tangent about Netflix and Disney churning out franchise content probably doubled the length of this and made it more than 30 minutes long, because we're at 53 minutes, and I'm okay with that. So thank you very much.
We're good at chatting bollocks.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. That has been this week's Almost Cancelled TV News. Now, we are recording this Thursday night. I don't know when I'm putting this out yet, but I presume it will probably be Saturday or Sunday. So if anything big happens on the Friday, we'll get to it next. Well, we won't get to next week because we're having an episode next week, but we'll get to it maybe the week after.
If you remember to go back that far.
I mean, I'll go back that far unless like I do the week of that episode and it's so quiet. I'm like, well, that's that week off. I'll go back and see if anything interesting happened, because it's slim.
Hey, it is summer.
It is summer, so it's possible that may be the case. But hey. So let's know what you thought of any of the news that popped up on this episode. You can like and subscribe, ding the bell for notifications if you want to support the content. You can do a few things. You can hit the super thanks button. You can go over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and support us for as little as $1 per month over there and help keep all the content coming that way. And of course, get us on Twitter at @mail_fuzz. Share the content around to people who might enjoy it. All the usual things that YouTubers tell you to say, like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. All those things. But that's us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?